zone, where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year, and welcome to another episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that the safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. All right, I got all kinds of things going on here. I can't talk right now. I haven't even been drinking yet. Look, number one, I hope everybody out there had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we are going to get into some more serious topics tonight for sure. But I think they're important. I wasn't planning on talking about any of this today, obviously, but I think we'd be remiss not to. But we still got a lot to be thankful for, and that's really what I was kind of intending, this podcast to focus on. And I still want it to be positive overall, but I do think we need to talk about some things. We also have a great special guest. We got Chris. If you haven't seen Chris from our counter media podcast that we will be doing, I think we're doing another one tomorrow. I don't know if Chris and I have confirmed that, but I'll bring him on here in just a minute and let him reintroduce himself. He does some really cool things. He's in Australia. I think with the time zone difference, it is actually 2026 in Australia right now. But I do want to say hello to Leonard H. and Sarah Terra. Look at that. Her name rhymes. Walker Customs, Jason TG sponsor, Jeff Johnson. Who else we got out there?
Somewhere down the bottom.
We got WMMM Mikey K. You guys got to get some better screen
William
names.
Mike K.
Don't ever correct me on video. Metal Seer, Josh Zartman, good to see you guys. Cold War 375, what's happening at Cold War? Wyatt Darrell, John Hopen. John, hadn't seen you in a while, buddy. I was wondering about you. Ted Boyette, Willie Everett, TKC Reptiles, Team 55 MX, Andre D'Angelo, Robert Cochran, Willie Everett, Nick Gebhardt. Oh, what's up, Nick? Hope you had a Merry Christmas, buddy. John Rollins, Denise S., Alaska Andy, and I'm sure there's many more. We got 187 people on there. If we haven't said hello, make sure you guys say hello up there. And also make sure you guys like, subscribe, all those things. We got this streaming on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook and X. For our Lost Boys on Rumble, as you guys know, I'll have Summer look at Rumble to try to see your comments.
You won't have me do anything. I'll do it myself.
Woman, don't make me... Don't make me dominate you in front of the camera. That got weird. All right.
That did. All
right, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Chris. Chris, hey, man, thanks for coming on once again. Hope you had a great... You guys don't even, I don't think you celebrate Christmas in Australia. I don't know what you guys do over there, you heathens.
We have it all. We have Christmas. We have Happy New Year's. These concepts aren't just American only. But
it's different. It's like different times. Like it's like outside of the Chinese New Year, something like that.
Yeah, New Year's is in July or something.
They celebrate Christmas on the beach over there because it's summer during their Christmas.
Yeah, very hot Christmas.
Yeah.
No snowy Christmas.
My type of Christmas.
But yeah, happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm Chris. I make some videos and documentaries for Watchdog Media, and I'm on Twitter doing some political stuff and working on a documentary about the Trump attempted assassination. And I'm here chatting with Gary about stuff. As I seem to do once or twice a week.
I've already gotten to get a sneak peek of the documentary he's working on. It is fantastic. And the thing, I don't believe in, creating an echo chamber around me. I want different opinions. And we actually have been working with a group on X where we do have some different opinions, but we've been working together and working on different stories and information. And the folks over there, even on this, I got a lot of information from OG, who's not on there right now, and Piper and some other folks that we work with on Twitter. But they have been contributing greatly and have been a great team to work with. And again, we have some different opinions on this, but I think everybody is willing to approach these different issues. And specifically, we've all kind of how we met was working on the J13 Trump assassination attempt. And there's a lot of crazy out there when it comes to that. And these folks have been, willing to, I don't know, focus on the evidence, little evidence-based information, as opposed to just coming up with wild theories and trying to cram them into, try to find evidence to support wild theories. And that's what 90% of the people, at least on that topic in Twitter, are trying to do. And I think it's a ridiculous way to approach any investigation, because the FBI is lying. The government is lying. There's a lot of bad information out there when it comes to the J-13 and almost everything. We're going to talk about some bad information that's already coming out from local officials and the FBI regarding this attack in New Orleans. But I think it's really important to I don't know, have some sanity check. And, Chris is, very like-minded in that opinion, in that way. So,
Chris, what is the projected release date of your documentary, if I might ask?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. I've sort of been asked this a few times. Sorry.
So second week in January?
Yeah, tomorrow, actually. No, I've answered like months ago that it was like a week or two away. So I'm not too good at my deadlines or whatever.
Time estimation is not your strong suit.
Yeah, but hopefully within a month or two, I should be pretty close to knocking it out. In my defense, they have been releasing a whole bunch more information. So I was almost ready to finish. And then they, the Senate put out a new report, or the House put out a new report. And then the big one, the task force, just released another 40 interviews or something. There's probably another 10,000 pages there.
Yeah.
I won't be able to go through all of it, but there's just more reading to do. But it will be good in the end. I think Gary's seen a bit of it. I think I've already got a lot of good info there. Plus, I'm reading all the latest stuff. I'm going to add all that in. So I don't want to put myself to a deadline, but
sure.
Hopefully a month or two. Hopefully there's no new
information.
No
pressure. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Well, as more comes out, you can make the sequel
Follow-up
and
videos.
the prequel and all that stuff too. So
yeah, I was hoping to sort of tie a knot on it and move on to something else, but I think I'm kind of stuck here for a while.
Yeah,
It's just
there's so much to cover, and like you said, something new comes out just about every single day. I added an extra M into your name. Do you see that? Look at that.
Well, I was going to announce a big announcement this week, as I apparently changed the spelling of my name. Okay, you're just making everything weird.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a little bit serious tonight.
You also renamed New Orleans.
Don't worry about that. I have a quick video of kind of a synopsis of what's going on with this. We'll probably stop and talk about it every now and then, but we're going to play this real quick, and then I want to hear from you guys. Right now, more information is coming out. I literally was adding clips to this up to the time. That's why I was running late, actually, up to the time that we would hit go live. So more information is coming out on this as we start, but I'm going to hit play on this, and we'll go from there. So this is his vehicle. This is footage of a surveillance camera of that white Ford Lightning. We're going to see it go past a cop that's blocking the entrance right here.
Oh my God.
So that's where he entered Bourbon Street. That's where things began.
Doug McCash, I'm with NOLA.com, and lately I've been writing about the mayor and governor's proposals to make the French Quarter safer.
So real quick, I just want to bring this up because I think this is important too. Look, the United States isn't new. These vehicle attacks, vehicle as a weapon attacks aren't new. Obviously, we just had one just a few days ago in Germany at the Christmas market. But we had the major attacks in Nice, France. 86 people killed. There was like 480 people injured during that. In 2017, right there in Melbourne, Australia, there was a vehicle attack. There were 6 people killed, 28 injured. In 2017 in New York, there was a truck attack, 8 people killed, 13 injured. Paris, we had another car attack. We had a 29-year-old French-Moroccan driver who pledged allegiance to Islamic State, ISIS. He actually, I don't think he actually killed anybody, but he rammed a couple of police and motorcyclists. And again, in Germany, just a few days ago, we had a Saudi Arabian citizen who came to Germany in 2006, killed 5, injured 200 plus. And then, of course, this attack. So these are not new. And we have been taking steps until we don't against this. And right here, we have New Orleans, right here in the French Quarter, for everybody that's been there. They actually have
and one of those proposals was to have mechanical barriers that would prevent vehicles from approaching Bourbon Street after certain hours.
Should we take it down this view?
I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit. You guys get the point. Those barricades are there. Either they were not in use or...
Good idea. Keeps cars from running us over when we're drunk, right?
Like every 2-3 blocks. So what was 10 or 15 dead and 30 wounded could have only been maybe 5 and 15. I mean, who can say, but it definitely would have been minimalized because this truck cannot go around those barricades. Everything in New Orleans in the French Quarter has a balcony. All the balconies have poles, several steel posts, and there's no going around anything. If that barricade's up, that's a wrap. That's your end.
So apparently they weren't up.
Now, here we have, this is really important to note. So we see that this is an FBI agent taking a photo of this as they're processing the crime scene. This is the ISIS flag that he allegedly had. Looks like it did. I will say during that initial video, we see a flagpole on the back of his hitch, but there's no flag flying. It looks like it might be wrapped up. I don't know. I don't know if he actually unfurled it at some point or what happened with that. But we see that the FBI, at this point, they know. All the leadership knows, hey, this is an ISIS attack or something related to terrorism. And then I want you to watch what goes on here because this really irritates the living shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. And let's watch this news conference where we have the New Orleans
First
mayor.
of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack.
Patrick said we'll be taking over the investigation.
This is the FBI agent in charge.
This event. This is not a terrorist event.
And that is not a terrorist event. That's what that clown up there said.
Chris had something he was about to say.
Chris always has something he's about to say. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen that. I mean, that's ridiculous, first off, saying it's not a terrorist attack. I saw another press conference with that same FBI woman that just said that it's not a terrorist attack.
I think she recanted that. They changed that later.
Yeah, I think this was a bit later, and I think I did hear her say something about a terrorist attack. I'm not 100% sure, but I imagine someone must have got in her ear and said, yeah, I mean, pretty safe to say this is a terrorist attack. There's no need to be shy about that one.
I mean, you can watch, I mean, at a minimum, say, hey, we're investigating. Don't come out and say this is not
a terrorist
event. That is absolutely insane that anybody would even say that. So this right here is the guy that's involved. We got some more information going on with him right now. We do know that he was number one, from all accounts, he was born here in the United States, who lived and worked in Houston. He was a veteran.
I just saw a very last minute video of SWAT teams surrounding a place in Houston related to this event right before we came on.
Another thing too, that I'm sure that's his home. Apparently the Airbnb that he was staying in burnt down. I don't know if that's true. I've heard reports of that on multiple different news agencies and mostly on Twitter, to be honest with you.
Maybe you want to get rid of evidence.
Maybe so, or I don't know.
I've got the Associated Press sort of live news feed thing, and a few hours ago they said road closed leading to suspect's recent address. So I guess they're saying somewhere that he lives, the cops have found that address and they've blocked that off to investigate his house or I guess Airbnb maybe.
No, I think the Airbnb burned down. I do think they're raiding his Houston home.
Yeah. Suspect's home in Houston is an active scene in connection with the New Orleans terror attack.
Yeah.
Man seen surrendering to SWAT outside of the home.
I do want to bring this up. So this lady is apparently the chief of police there in New Orleans. You don't have to do anything more than a surface level little information check on this lady. She actually hit 2 pedestrians with her own police vehicle, I think last year sometime. Beyond that, she apparently specializes in DEI, inclusion, equity, and all this other nonsense. You don't have to look at this lady for very long. And you can call me sexist, ageist, whatever else. Okay, this is not the best for the Oakland, or this not Oakland, but this is not best for the New Orleans Police Department. All right, we can find better than this person. This person right here, as far as I'm concerned, just again, looking at her without knowing all the other stuff, that she's obviously incompetent. And the fact that she's failed at this once again, and there's a whole lot of other information out there that I did some initial research on her. You're telling me New Orleans can't find somebody else that's better than this lady? All right, this lady needs to be retired. She needs to be off playing pickleball somewhere. She doesn't need to be running the New Orleans Police Department.
Well, most of her policing career was in Washington State, which tells you a little bit. And then she went to Chicago, where Mayor Rahm Emanuel appointed her chief of the department's Bureau of Professional Standards.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We should be doing better. This is without a doubt a DEI political hire. This has nothing to do with the merits of her ability to actually run a police department. And then, okay, so now we're kind of getting to another topic altogether. This just hit a few minutes ago. We saw that we had this Tesla Cybertruck blow up conveniently outside of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. When I saw this, okay, I don't know how many people have actually seen, if you've actually seen a electric vehicle burn, all right, they actually catch on fire. They typically smoke a little bit. You see them smoking and they usually catch on fire. I've never seen anything like this where it explodes. And I immediately said, hey, look, this doesn't look like a normal fire from a, electric vehicle or batteries catching on fire. And there's the chances of a Tesla vehicle blowing up in front of Trump Hotel is
at
like
the front door.
At the front door is just, it's not a coincidence. Well, turns out I was right. We'll watch this, see this blow up. Actually have it zoomed in on a little bit. That is not a normal fire from an electric vehicle. And then luckily right before I came on, this is what I was adding. As I got on here, I just saw another news report. Let me get to it over here. Maybe. Oh, God. I loaded up the wrong one. Anyways, there was a news report from CNN. And we'll get to this in just a second. But there was a news report from CNN that basically said, hey, they found gas tanks, camping fuel, fireworks, and it was actually rigged with an initiator, a detonator that was initiated by the driver. So that, without a doubt, whatever it is, it's terrorism. If it's related to New Orleans, I'm not sure. Apparently, there's reports saying that both vehicles were rented on the Turo app. Again, don't know if that's related. Have you heard any more news on that, Chris?
No, I haven't. But I do have loaded up, shared. I've got another angle of, I think it's after the initial explosion.
Oh, yeah, from the
you
inside.
You can just see the fire. But I think you can hear fireworks and stuff.
Yeah, you can. On this one.
You hear something there. Fireworks. So yeah, sounds like fireworks going off to me from inside, I guess, maybe. But yeah, that's basically it, I think.
Yeah, so I don't think that's a coincidence. Who knows if it's actually related one way or another, but regardless, I think that's a clear signal. That's terrorism, no matter how you define it or if it's related or not. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this going on too. And what were you going to say, Chris?
And when was the latest big sort of similar event like this in America? It's been a while, hasn't it? And it's funny that you have two on the same day.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been lots of reports that have been going around saying that, hey, there's active threats against the United States. I think a lot of people were expecting something around Christmas, more so even than the New Year. I'm always surprised anytime that Times Square during New Year's isn't attacked. So I think people need to be vigilant and be aware out there. I do want to bring this up real quick, folks, because there's already a bunch of crazy things being suggested or whatever else when it comes to we're already getting into conspiracy theory stuff when it comes to the attack in New Orleans. And I wanted to bring this up. So this picture was going around Twitter, and I think it was actually tweeted by John Rich, or retweeted at least. And they said, "Oh God, what's all this pink stuff on this guy's rifle? This is really weird." And this was going around. And then I was like, "Oh, that is a little strange looking." And then I found this picture right here. So it's the same pink stuff that's on this trooper's hat over here, and that is the reflection of the freaking brakes.
I was about to say that's a light reflection.
This is how these things get. Chris and I constantly deal with these weird things that are easily explained.
When you crop in a picture, it's hard to explain it.
Again, there's a lot of people in the conspiracy theory realm that pick up on weird things like this, and they'll obsess over it. They'll make videos that get millions of views over it. But I just wanted to kind of address that right off the bat, because I did think it was weird at first, but once you zoom out a little bit, you can clearly see that what we have here is just a reflection of the red light of the parking or the brake lights there.
Yeah, that's good to catch that one. And it's always good. Excuse me. Things like that to.
I just want to bring this up. I agree with you, Jeff. I don't know that chatting with foreign nationals is a good idea. I think you're right.
Sorry, Chris, what were you saying?
Gary just lives on edge. He'll do whatever. With things like that, it's always good to look at other footage, and it's always good if there's a video available of the same area, as opposed to relying on a photo. You don't know where it's taken from. That's not exactly the same as the stuff we've been dealing with the July 13 stuff, but there was a lot of that where there's just a photo and people say, "Oh, this looks a bit weird. Let's zoom in on this. This has to be something," but it's really nothing. You're just sort of zooming in, reading the tea leaves on pixels.
Sunbursts get turned into lasers. Like there was just a photo going around. Chris and I were on this. I think both of us have just departed from it, but there's a thread on X that has all these people that basically are, they believe, most of them, the vast majority. Chris, you tell me if I say anything not correct here, but right, yeah. I think the vast majority, believe in 2 shooters, 3 shooters, and Butler PD and all these
J13.
All these other people are involved in the Trump assassination, other than what we see. And so there's this one photo going around, and it's clearly a sunburst on the camera lens, but you can see it as he moves his camera around. This sunburst that's hitting the camera lens is, next thing you know, this is an IR laser on something. This is a laser. And it's so obvious. It has no characteristics of a laser whatsoever, but it's just little things like that. And there's 100 things like that get picked up on that thread and just get passed around, and people believe it. And it's just, it's almost funny to watch.
Yeah, and they never attempt to make a complete theory. They never go, okay, well, here's an interesting thing, therefore this happened and that happened, and they don't do that. They just go, oh, look at that, that's got to be something. Yeah. And you're supposed to fill in the blanks with your imagination. Like with that laser we're talking about, the person that put that forward, he hasn't even really got a theory as to what it's doing there, like what its purpose is. Like, why is there a laser there right when the shooting's going off? A rangefinder, why? It doesn't even make sense why that would be needed right then and there. And this person hasn't even attempted to explain it.
Yeah. And it's on people in the crowd. And the funny thing is where the camera view changes, it moves with the camera view as the cameras change. I mean, it's just so obvious what it is. It's just ridiculous. You have to be
Concon said the Cybertruck blew up in front of the Trump Hotel an hour ago. That was 8-something this morning.
It was 8-something their time, according to that. So
I know, but it
Mountain
wasn't an
time.
hour.
No, it wasn't. I don't think. No, it wasn't an hour ago.
Yeah.
It was several hours ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only woke up to the
it's
two.
weird that we're just I guess I haven't really been plugged into the news, but like whole time we were at the gym, there was nothing popping up on the screen, like no alerts on news alerts on my phone. Like I didn't know anything about it until about an hour ago.
A recent update with the New Orleans. I got chastised for saying
Make
New
sure you say it
Orleans
right.
the Australian way. Got to make sure I keep Gary happy. New Orleans.
New Orleans.
The death toll has been raised, I think, to 15. I think it was 10 before. Now they say it's 15.
15 people.
Oh wow.
killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue to change. I mean, I think between, I'm sure so many people were so critically injured that some of them are, holding on, but I think that is going to change. It's, yeah. This is a great question. We need to tune in and go see what Colin is saying about all this. That's where the real deal is.
You got to pay. You got to pay to find out what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got it already figured out. It's just behind a
It's all
paywall.
behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Behind the paywall. And if you slow down the audio, you can definitely hear some subsonic rounds of all sorts.
I'm just trying to share my screen because I think I've got some kind of an update. Have I shared the right one?
It's no.
Yeah, if you can share. Yeah, so there's just the live updates of the Associated Press I'm looking at. This one just popped up. Biden says attacker posted video indicating he was inspired by the Islamic State group. Joe Biden said the New Orleans attacker had posted video on social media indicating he was inspired by the Islamic State group. Biden said the man had expressed a desire to kill, and the investigation remained fluid. Biden said, "I grieve with you, our nation grieves with you."
The top
That's not a
headline
huge
caught my
update,
eye
is
where
it?
it says they go back, Gary, or go back, Chris. Up at the top. Nope.
Chris, you got to get permission from somewhere before you
Did
close
not
the
act
window.
alone, which I think we kind of already mentioned that, but says it didn't act alone up at the top. If you scroll all the way to the top.
Yeah, there
There you
there have been several reports that he apparently had some accomplices. I don't know where they got that information from or anything else, but that is the report that we're seeing. The other thing that I
Did
also,
he just crash and then that's what stopped the attack, or what?
he crashed because he got shot several
okay.
times. I'm assuming. I
apparently
don't
Was
know.
he
that-
shot by police?
He
or
was
by-
shot by
heard-
police.
Hang on, I heard he ran into all those people and then he got out of his car and got into a firefight with the police. And he injured 2 police officers that are in hospital but doing okay. And he was killed in that shootout with the police officers. I think that was outside of his vehicle. There was a shootout afterwards, I think. I'm pretty sure I got that from this webpage, yeah, somewhere down the bottom.
I did find photos of him laid out on the street, shirt off, what looked like bullet holes in his chest, but I didn't want to play that given that we have this on X. I wouldn't worry about it because that's where I found those photos to begin with. But YouTube would not. They probably are going to demonetize this one as it is. This is the correct enunciation for New Orleans. All right. Nolans. Nolans is a little deep for me. It's New Orleans. New Orleans. New Orleans.
Yeah, it says he was killed in a firefight with officers.
Yeah. So, he probably did run into that lift, crash into that lift, and then try to get out. I did see several reports as well talking about that while he was in the military, there were several complaints against him, or other fellow soldiers were bringing up the fact, basically alleging that he was an Islamic extremist, and nothing was done about that. So, again, we have systems in place that continue to fail us. We have leaders in place that continue to fail us on every level. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, folks, if you haven't woken up to the fact that you cannot rely on government for anything, you have to take some personal responsibility for your safety, your security, you name it, in every way possible. You have to be self-sufficient. That used to be like the one thing that Americans were known for was, being self-sufficient. And we've gotten so far away from that, it's not funny, most Americans today can't change a freaking tire. much less are they able to power their homes or able to get water if, you know, suddenly the water gets turned off. I can't even tell you how many grown adults can't start a fire. You know, we got to make sure that, we just got to make sure that we are what Americans are supposed to be, and that is independent. And our government's going to continue to fail us because it's full of incompetent people.
He enlisted in the Navy in August 2024, but didn't go show at boot camp.
Well, they let him in the Army after that.
No, that was August 2024.
Oh,
he was
gotcha.
He was discharged from the Army Reserve in 2020.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was reading something about his divorce. I think he's recently divorced. I don't know if it's probably not a factor, but a few months back, I think his divorce was finalised, and maybe it was a bit messy. I should have more details, but that's all I remember. But I think Biden just spoke recently. I think that's where some of these news updates came from. If you want to share my screen, we may as well listen to it. He speaks for a couple of minutes.
Sure. I always love to hear amazing words from Biden.
Yeah. So savor it, because we're not going to hear much more of this, of the Biden presidential updates.
For all Americans, I say, our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who were killed, to all those who were injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know, I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come. I want to thank our brave first responders and law enforcement personnel who stopped the attacker in his tracks before he could kill or injure even more people. And I want to thank you to everyone at the Department of the Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, including the FBI, for working nonstop to investigate this heinous act. The FBI is leading the investigation to determine what happened, why it happened, whether there was any continuing threat to public safety. Here's what we know so far. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, excuse me, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time. The investigation is continuing to be active, and no one should jump to conclusions. I've directed my Attorney General, the FBI Director, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, and the intelligence community to work on this intensively until we have a full and complete information. And once we have that information, I will share that information as soon as we can confirm it. Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a cyber truck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. I directed my team to make sure every resource is made available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete the investigation in New Orleans quickly and to make sure there's no remaining threat to the American people. And we'll support the people of New Orleans as they begin the hard work of healing. New Orleans is a place unlike any other place in the world. It's a city full of charm and joy. So many people around the world. While this person committed a terrible assault on the city, the spirit of our New Orleans will never, never, never be defeated in the days and weeks ahead. May God bless our police and our first responders May God protect our troops, and we'll keep you fully contemporaneously informed. Thank you.
Oh, there
Point
you
out
go.
the fact that never once did he say that this is a terrorist attack. And even, they've been very careful with the verbiage on all this. Even if we look at that chyron right there, it says President Biden speaks following the deadly New Orleans attack. Nothing in there about terrorism. As far as Jason, you asked a question about this. It did look like that the flag that he had was homemade. Looked like it was made from black cloth and spray paint or something like that. You could definitely tell it wasn't, a commercially produced flag.
You can see in one of the pictures where had gotten wrapped up around the flagpole too.
Yeah.
That picture you have there with the red paint on the gun.
Yeah.
It's interesting the way the Biden spoke of potential explosives in the car, and the FBI lady said something about potential, more potential IEDs or something around the outside. It's just interesting. I think they've added potential to both sort of IEDs they found, as if, like, are we not sure? Is it going to turn out that, oh, no, they weren't actually bombs. We just thought maybe they might have been.
Well, I think it kind of even goes back to the explosives found in Crook's vehicle, where they don't know if they're viable or not, I think is what it comes down to. But the fact is, we have the entire intel community. We have the largest surveillance apparatus that has ever existed, doing more surveillance on Americans than has ever existed. We all know this, and yet we get nothing in return for giving up the money and resources that we provide to those assets. And then on top of that, with all the liberties that we have ceded to them in supposedly to get the safety and security, we're not getting that. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. And it never is. And it never is, folks. Every time that we give up liberty, because we're afraid, I'm telling you, it's always a mistake. And it's always after something bad happens. And the FBI doesn't have a lot to show, the FBI or the CIA. And of course, maybe, the CIA would say, hey, we can't tell about all the successes that we've had even overseas. But the FBI doesn't have a long track record to look back and say, hey, look, this is the terrorist attacks that we supposedly stopped. I don't think very many of those actually exist. And I think that's just a fact.
Yeah. They could probably have a longer list of all the Americans they've surveilled or kept files on or something, but in terms of terrorist attacks they've stopped, probably not so much.
All the citizens they rolled up that were in like a 2-mile radius of January 6th around the Capitol building that are still in prison that have had, haven't had a trial. What is going on with that? It just infuriates me beyond anything that I can even articulate. Like, it is so crazy that we are actually having that type of thing take place here in the United States. It's third world country. It's a banana republic. Somebody else said it too. All the intel community is too busy right now trying to come up with digging up more dirt on Trump right now. It's what they're doing because they are. They're afraid of Trump. They're afraid of this next administration. I'm curious to see what Kash Patel is going to do as he gets in here and cleans up the FBI. Hopefully he does. And everybody else that comes in here. So, I don't know.
Some article about that Patel. Some people in the FBI, they're not happy about him. I don't know if they're from the DEI department of the FBI. I don't know if I was reading like an Onion piece or something.
I don't think anybody at the FBI is happy about him coming on. And I'm glad. I don't want them to be happy. F you. You freaking have done nothing but disgrace us as Americans. Everybody used to think that, hey, the FBI was this good, that they were apolitical. And then from the time I have continued to lose faith in the FBI, from the time that Comey came out and explained to us why they weren't going to charge Hillary, and going forward, everything that they have done as a absolutely political organization, nothing short of brown shirt Gestapo, is what the FBI has done over the last, 8 years or so. It's been insane.
Yeah, I haven't really got. I can't remember all the details, but over the years, every now and then, there's been something where it's like, yeah, the FBI just seem very corrupt and don't seem to have a good purpose for the American people. Just seems
no. No, well,
Yeah.
we
A
need
lot coming
to
after
take a
Trump.
wrecking ball to everything when it comes to these different government agencies. We need to get rid of 2/3 of them, and I hope that's exactly what Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy and Kash Patel. Speaking of which, and this is something I was actually planning on talking about today. We have a lot of dust up going on with Elon and H-1B visas, which we are going to do a full show on tomorrow. I don't want to get too much into the H-1B visas. Chris and I and a couple other folks have been working on that. We want to kind of bring you the truth on that. But I do want to talk about what also was kind of going on Twitter. Suddenly, the hammer has dropped on a bunch of folks on Twitter, and they've gotten their blue checks removed. Chris, what else have you seen on that?
I'm still trying to work out all the exact details. At first, there's something about that Laura Loomer. She was coming pretty hard at Elon, and then she sort of suffered that.
Yeah.
And I haven't fully investigated everything, but apparently it was something to do with either Elon or that Adrian Dittman, who some people say is Elon, but I don't think so. But anyway, some guy that sounds like Elon, he was saying that was because Laura Loomer released some FEC report of someone and it had someone's address on it. I haven't double-checked that. Laura might have admitted that. But somehow that might have connected some group that she's affiliated with, Conservative OG, and then a bunch of people connected to that. They all lost their check mark.
Yeah.
That's sort of the explanation. I don't know if it's true or not, because basically they're all critical of the H-1B visas, and they all lost their check mark. And then after that, what was it? Oh, and then there was also another a group of like Groypers. They're sort of connected to that Nick Fuentes. They're more, a certain aspect of the right wing, I suppose.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them, they all got hit as well. Apparently that's related. I haven't fully checked that. And then I saw a bunch of other people like Jake Shields and that Dr. Lupus and a few people that are a bit controversial, but they all got their checks.
I'll be honest with you. I don't agree with Jake Shields losing his check mark for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's. And here's the problem, folks. And I know a lot of you are like, "Oh, big deal, you lost a check mark." Well, the problem is all these people. Laura Loomer is a great example that I know for a fact, but there's other folks out there that are losing their check mark, and they have like thousands of subscribers, so they're making a significant amount of money off of people that are not only wanting to follow them and care about what they say, but are willing to pay them a monthly subscription to make sure that they get all the information. And of course, you get exclusive things and stuff like that on Twitter as well with the check mark. So, basically, what that's really saying is they're probably losing tens of thousands of dollars worth of monthly income because they said something controversial or that X doesn't like. And I don't want that. I will say, let me tell you something. Jake Shields has some pretty anti-Semitic hot takes and some things. He's gone down to he's about as anti-Semitic as it gets on some of those things. Again, I am a free speech absolutist. And I think people should be allowed to expose their ignorance, right? And there again, if people want to follow these people, and they want to spew all these things, that's fine. But I do have a problem, especially since Elon he's said the same thing I just said, is like, hey, I'm a free speech absolutist. Well, then you need to look into this. And I don't know how much Elon is directly involved with all this stuff. Look, I do think that Elon's petty. I think that Elon, if Laura Loomer talks some mad shit to him, just for giggles and just to show he can, he'll freaking remove that check mark for at least a while before he calms down and figures out.
And then he'll, what do they call it now when you post on X? Not tweet?
It's still a tweet.
I don't know.
He'll tweet about it after.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's talked a little bit about it. I will just kind of an initial thing that, and again, I don't want to get too much into this, and you throw the brakes on me if I go too deep, Chris. But the H-1B visa, Vivek Ramaswamy is taking a lot of heat right now because he said something. Look, he basically said Americans were retarded, but not just that. There was a bunch of other stuff in there, and then Elon liked to post. So some of what they said, I agree with. I didn't know, and let's not pretend that anybody out there. I didn't know that much about the H-1B visa program until all this controversy happened, and me and Chris started talking about it. I was like, hey, I laid out some basic questions that I think most people would want to know that I didn't know the answer to. I do think it's a program that is being vastly abused, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So you definitely want to tune in for that. But there is also a part of me that says, hey, look, we have an American populace that has gotten lazier. I think that is demonstrable. I also think that we need to understand as Americans that competition is good, but I also don't want a program that is going to take away American jobs, because the H-1B visa program was set up for a very niche kind of purpose, and I think it's well beyond that. So I see a little bit of both sides to that argument. I do think the H-1B visa program does need to be reformed, and we need to get a handle on what it is. And I think the American people need to know what is going on with that, because fact is there's all these programs that are damaging our lifestyle, our economy, and the foundation of America as a whole in many different ways that we know nothing about. And the H-1B visa is just one of probably thousands of programs like it that are undermining our ability to compete economically worldwide.
I agree with F14 Flyers comment. A government program that is being abused. Shocking. I mean, that was my immediate thought. It was like, well, every government program, there's immediately people that are figuring out how they can game the system to abuse that program the minute it comes out.
I'm not taking off my sweater, Jason.
Jeff said he wanted to see your tight T-shirt, so Jason said he'd pay a fee for you to take off the sweatshirt.
I got my workout shirt on. I went on earlier.
It's all sweaty and gym scented.
Let's see here. Too many sissy liberals who drive sissy electrical vehicles smoke sissy electric cigarettes. God bless my Chevy Silverado and Marlboro Reds.
And your lung
I
cancer.
hope
Your lung cancer.
that the misspellings that are included in here are done so intentionally for comedic relief.
With a cat
There's
picture.
really nothing in there I disagree with. I got to be honest with you. So if you're just trolling us and you're making fun of us, well done, sir. Well played. You got me.
I'm gonna leave the pink cup for Jeff's benefit too.
Just with the H-1Bs, yeah, we'll save it mostly for the show. But yeah, I think there's two things that are probably right. One is that the program's probably being exploited, and it probably ties into the bigger immigration question. Because, I mean, I still don't have a strong opinion of it. I'm generally somewhat anti-immigration, or at least it needs to be restricted sort of in general massively. But I have noticed even before
we don't take on any more Australians. That's the real problem here in America.
No, see, that's the best of the best that I could kind of get behind. If Vivek was like, look, you just need more Australians, I'd be like, look, he's just speaking facts. You know, that'll really make America great again with a bunch of Australians.
Just leave the kangaroos there. Those things are frightening.
That's the snakes and spiders.
They're on. They're sweethearts. You know, but I have noticed that people generally don't seem to be free to be anti-immigration, or they have to sort of like temper it a little bit. Like to have an opinion of, like, say, for example, on the extremes of, I don't think we should have any immigration whatsoever, and, you know, maybe, you know, plus deport all the tens of millions of illegals and all this kind of stuff. That's sort of seen as like racist. That's sort of outside the
100%
Overton window or whatever. So you sort of have to say, look, we'll either take this many or we'll take this many. And that's sort of where we're allowed to debate.
God forbid you say, look, they came in the country illegally. They should leave and come back the correct way.
I think number one, if you have, we need to pause. We need to pause to get a whole handle on everything that's going on here. And then I think we need to have a real debate on what is a healthy amount of immigration. Because, you know, Tucker Carlson touched on this all the time. I think when we have Americans that aren't reproducing, all right, we're at a production level, a reproduction level that is definitely going to guarantee the replacement of Americans, and that is the real problem here. Why is that? Why do Americans not feel like they can afford more children? Why does every household in America feel like they have to have two incomes to survive? Those are all the real questions. And I think we do need to have a real debate on what is realistic and what we should have a limit on legal immigration. And then, we definitely need to retake a look at some of these programs like H-1B. I do think that, I believe in immigration. I think it's a good thing. But I also am completely like, if you came in this country illegally, I don't care when you came. I don't care if you've been here for 20 years. Okay. It's just a fact. You need to go back to the country which you came and come back the right way. And you should be penalized. You should be penalized. And I get it. I get that is going to disrupt some families and all these things. And I know that's not popular.
But you knew those were the risks and the choices you made.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the equivalent is I killed somebody 20 years ago. I've never done it since. All right. And because I've now created a stable for myself, like, you should just let that slide. And I know that's an extreme comparison, but the point, it makes the point. Like, you still broke the law. You still came into the country illegally. Doesn't matter if you're here 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like, the ramifications and the consequences should be the same. And guess what? If we stood by that, if that was like, no matter what, you get kicked out of the country, we wouldn't have a problem with illegal immigration. And that's why we have people that stay in the shadows for 15, 20 years.
That's what I was about to say. You're creating incentives for people to come in and say, like, if I can just get in there, stay in the shadows for 15, 20 years, well, then they're going to let me stay.
I mean, we're either a country of laws or we're not. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I think this idea, because Trump has sort of, I wouldn't say hinted, I think he's actually sort of said that he will try and deport a good chunk of all those illegal immigrants, which doesn't really seem, well, not that it's impossible, but it's going to be very difficult to do that because, I don't know how many illegal immigrants are in America. I hear numbers upward of 20 million or 30 million. I don't know. It's probably hard to count these things. But Trump was sort of at least alluding to basically getting rid of all of them. But I can't really see that happening. You'd have to have, you imagine them, if they started rounding up a lot of people, there'd be a lot of media pushback. Look how unfair this is. Look at this crying child, or look at this.
Yeah. It's gonna happen.
Well, I'm not sure that it will. I think because Trump, he's already, I don't know if him specifically or some people around him, they always sort of say, well, first we're going to get rid of the criminal.
You're saying you don't think that they're actually going to round up or deport the amount of people that he's saying. I agree with that. I think he's going to end up getting in here and end up taking a softer approach. I'm going to be pissed off about it, but I'm also a realist. But if we do start deporting people the way that like Tom Homan wants, which I hope we do. I hope he's just kind of put in charge and Trump's like, put home in charge of it. He's going to do it. But you're right. They're going to exploit it on the left. There's no doubt about it. They're going to exploit those imagery and everything else that comes with it. And
I think this H1B, I probably should figure out how to say that properly before tomorrow. Yeah. I think it's related. It's sort of, because not everything is just on this specific issue. I think it's sort of tied into the broader immigration issue, which has always been a little bit funny with Trump because he's already, he first came on the scene. He's going to build a big, beautiful wall. He's going to make Mexico pay for it. But he also said, there's going to have a big, beautiful door and people can come in legally. But then he also was critical of H-1Bs back then. I think, when Vivek and Elon, they make, some points that might make sense about some issues with American culture. People worry that that's sort of used as an excuse to continue the status quo of immigration as it is now. So people mightn't be 100% upset about the comments, but it's the whole context of everything outside of that that's really riling people up because they, I imagine the American people have been trying to vote to restrict immigration for a long time, but they're just never allowed to do it no matter who they vote for.
Yeah, there's definitely powerful incentives on both sides of the aisle for cheap labor. All right. And I think that is what, we have exported our production. We're exporting our labor outside the United States. And really, we're just exporting our money and our children's futures and our grandchildren's futures so that we can buy cheap goods at Walmart. I think we have to do a realignment for a number of reasons. And I think we're going to end up being forced to. I think, we're seeing China, we're seeing increase their numbers militarily. And I think they are. I think they're ramping up to at least be able to project the image that we are going to that they can challenge us. I remember just recently I was watching an interview with Pete Hegseth, and he said, they have ran the simulations of us fighting China like 100 times and thousands of times or whatever it is, and 100% of the time we lose. Like we are not in a position to where we can defend against, especially China, Russia, Iran, and whatever other weird people in the, South Korea and some other countries out there that would be willing to join them and fight us. And never mind South America. We have some real problems down in South America as well, as far as, not having necessarily friends down there. So I do think we need to take a look at that, because we're going to be forced, if we go to a war with China, or getting into at least an economic war more than we are now, we're going to be forced to bring production back home to the United States. And if we don't start doing that now incrementally, it's going to be such a jagged pill to swallow that it's going to be hard on everybody. So I think we need to really start looking at that.
So just going by Fire by Friction's comment there, I looked up the refusal rate as a percentage over the last 10 years. So in 2017, it jumped up to a 17% approximate approval rate, 2018, 22.4. But then in 2019, it suddenly dropped to a 2% refusal rate. And it's currently a 2.1% approval. I wonder why it dropped off so suddenly. It went from 22.24% refusal rate to a 2.013% refusal rate the next year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder what caused that huge drop in refusals.
Well, number one, let's see. We had Biden come in 2020.
Yeah, well, 2021.
So, yeah. But we did have a 2% refusal rate in 2019
and 2020.
I don't know, but regardless,
Trump started off strong the first 2 years, but then
it depends on how many visas were put in. Maybe there's just a lot less visas. But that's look, we got a bunch of those numbers we're going to go through, because the way that it's supposed to work is only supposed to be 65,000 H-1B visas approved per year, and then they have another additional 20,000. So basically, it's supposed to be capped at 85,000. I know, I believe it was last year there was something like 300,000
approved in 2020. Fiscal year 2023 was approximately like 270.
So we have far exceeded that, and we'll go over all those numbers.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're getting ahead of us.
I like numbers.
Me and Chris have been working on all this stuff.
I like numbers and data.
Sorry. Summer just dumps everything out on the table right here. Thanks, Summer. You ruined our show tomorrow.
Spoil everything.
Yeah. I do. I ruin your life.
But yeah, I mean, we as Americans, we definitely got to get more involved and we really got to get just smarter on this stuff. Nobody cared about H-1B visas. I sure didn't, a week ago. And now we're all up in arms about it. And I think we're rightfully so that these are programs being abused. Just like somebody said, all government programs are going to be abused. None of them delivering what they're supposed to. And almost all of them cause more problems than they solve. And that's the thing that we got to start waking up to. We've let the federal government get completely out of control, never mind the state and local governments. And I'm still, I got even more pissed off. We were watching Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched the last episode of Yellowstone, but basically, they end up giving all this land away because they don't want to pay taxes on it. They can't afford to pay taxes on it. But that's the thing that gets me. And I don't know how things are in Australia, but I think the most unconstitutional and craziest thing that we have in the United States is property tax, and never mind an inheritance tax. Those two things drive me up the wall. You never own anything. The moment that you can't pay that tax, all we're doing is renting from the United States government. And after you pay the initial fees, your rent on that is fairly low, but it can be extremely high. And then if you have, inheritance tax on property, now we've been paying taxes on our income we take that already taxed income. We have additional taxes that when we purchase something, then we pay property taxes on that for our entire lives. And then when we die, now our family has to inherit that. To keep that property, they're going to pay an obscene amount of inheritance tax
and then
on
pay
that,
property taxes
and
on
then
it.
pay property taxes. I mean, you're paying, millions and millions and millions of dollars on the same piece of property over, a couple of generations.
I forget what the statistic is. I'm sure we could look it up, but I saw something the other day that showed exactly how many times $1 of earned income is taxed.
It's
crazy.
If there was a state, I don't care. Well, I won't say that. Almost any state that came out tomorrow that said, "Hey, you don't have to pay. There's no property tax." I'm going there. I think property tax.
I hope it's warm there.
I hope too. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. One of you guys freaking make it to where there's no property tax. And being a veteran, we get a major discount on property tax. And I think even in West Virginia now,
I have to look up the rules again. I think we basically
if you pay your property tax on time,
you can get it rebated.
You get it refunded back.
Yeah.
Some weird thing like that. And even that's a little weird. How's the tax structure over in Australia? Is it great?
No, they're never great. They're always bad, these whole tax structures. Yeah, I'm not sure the exact details, but when we buy a house, we have to pay extra stamp duty, which is sort of a property tax, and then we pay rates every year, which is some kind of a tax mixed in with like the government keeping up the streets or something. They sort of merge that all together. But yeah, basically you're paying tax on your own property till the day you die, and probably beyond and before, and multiple times all over the place.
Yeah.
And they still never have enough. They still need
more money
for funding this, that, or the other.
Gotta have more money. Or we can't keep you safe, folks. Or you guys are all going to die if you don't give us this money, because we can't keep you safe. 904 Classic Legend, thanks for the super chat there. Elon probably needed a wambulance and order some French fries after you radioed on X. What's next from Elon? Sponsoring H-1B visas for sissies.
904 Classic Legend is off the hook tonight.
Look, I will tell you this. I want to be careful about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because regardless of how people feel about Elon, number one, Elon is one of the main reasons that Trump was elected. I am also very grateful that Elon bought X, as long as he doesn't turn into a non-free speech tyrant, because I do think that he completely changed the conversations. I think not only was his monetary contributions during the campaign obviously helped Trump get elected, but I really do think the fact that he bought X allowed to pave the way so that Trump could be reelected as well. I think that had more of an impact than most people can ever really appreciate. Especially, I know there's a lot of folks out there that don't even get on X, but I mean, X is a very powerful platform. It really is. And there's a lot of great conversations on there. It's a great source for news too. A lot of the information that I was trying to find today, I went through Fox, I went through CNN. You can find bits and pieces, but honestly, any bit of information you want, it's not all verified, but there's a lot of good information. And you learn to know what accounts to trust, right? Or at least to a reasonable degree as well. So I think X had a major role, and Elon had a major role in allowing Trump to be reelected, or assisting Trump to be reelected. I don't think that can be understated. I do think he has some great ideas. I do think that ultimately we need to realize that Elon, was a former Democrat, was a former liberal. I think he probably still in the mindset in many different areas, and the fact is we got to be able to allow people within the Republican Party, or whatever you want to call it, to have differing and opposing opinions on some different topics. I think that's another thing that we have to consider. We don't want to become liberals. Look, I don't want to become, like the Democrats that are intolerant of anything outside of their echo chamber. I think we need to be very careful and mindful about that.
Yeah, I think I even saw some Democrats, some of the more decent, sort of left-leaning people, sort of at least pointing to the right and saying, well, look, they can at least sort of debate things. On the left, we're not allowed to debate. We just have the party line, and we're not allowed to shift from it. But at least on the right, they're having somewhat of an open debate about immigration. And yeah, I don't mind Elon in some ways. He's sort of a bit of an enigma a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. But I think people are just concerned that, yeah, he was a Democrat. He only recently became Republican. He did sort of lean in on Trump pretty heavily. Does he want something for that now? Like, is he, is the things he's pushing for what's best for America or what's best for him and his company and his hiring practices? And people are probably wondering that whether Elon's views match Trump's, and if they don't, should Elon have too much power if he's sort of got a different view, probably on immigration in particular. Like, I can't imagine Musk saying, yes, I agree with you, Trump, let's sort of send in some heavy boots on the ground. Well, maybe that's not the right phrase, but send in what's needed to deport like 10 million or 20 million people. I can't imagine Elon being down with that. And I think people are nervous that that's not going to happen anyway. Because on the one hand, I think you mentioned the immigration guy's name. Was it Holt? Holt starts with an H. Does it?
Holman.
Pretty heavy.
Yep. Tom Holman,
yeah,
I believe.
But then I've heard some other statements from, can't remember who, someone connected to Trump about, well, we'll focus on like the ones that have committed crimes since they've come here, which is a very small percentage of the 20, 30 million. So some people have taken that to mean Trump's already sort of walking back that we're going to deport so many. They all have to go back kind of rhetoric.
Oh, I think he is. I mean, I think that's his MO. And I think even from a, I think even from a business standpoint, that's a negotiation tactic of his for sure, where he goes real big and then he drops it down and he pushes it real big and then he drops it down to like a more moderate whatever to make it a little bit more. And then to make, because if he started at the moderate stance, he would never get it. But if you go real big and you almost seem extreme and you push that, and then finally you walk it back to a more moderate stance, you end up being successful. And I think that's just his tactic. And I think people need to realize that. I think that in some of these areas, and I think immigration, just like we were in 2016, in 2017, and 2018, I think most Americans were disappointed at the actual results of what we got compared to his campaign promises. And I think we need to realize that there's going to be some more of that going on. But what I can tell you is that I think Trump does care about America, and I do think he has America's best interest at heart. And I do think that he is a far better choice than anybody on the left, and quite frankly, far better choice than anybody on the right. I can't think of anybody out there that would be as effective as standing up to the left and standing up to government in the deep state, if you will. I almost don't like using that term, but that's what it is. Standing up to the deep state. There's just no one else that's going to be as effective as him. And we've seen that. So I think we got to take the good with the bad and, go from there and see what we can get done. What I can tell you is that I think deportations will happen. I think we will get a more rigid immigration policies and things like that will take place, just like we did during the 4 years that he was president. We had less people coming over the border. We had more deportations happening. Actually, not quite as many deportations as were happening under Obama, even, but we did have less illegal crossings during his administration. And then the Biden administration more than made up for that with the tens of millions of people that they allowed through the border. So if nothing else, if we just get to a point where we undo some of the damage that Biden has done, I think we're in a much better place than where we would be with anybody else.
I've heard Trump say on the campaign trail, I haven't checked it or anything, that towards the end of his term, he had managed to buy a lot of equipment to build the fence or the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a few things going on. Even the Republicans were sort of against him. The Democrats were against him. But apparently he had some stuff, and then Biden came in and sold it really cheap. This is what Trump was saying. I haven't checked whether that's true or not. But apparently,
there's been millions and millions of dollars worth of border wall and containers and other things that, with federal funding, had been allocated to Texas and other places like that. In the last several months, in the last year or so, Biden has been selling the stuff off pennies on the dollar. And that was actually, there was just a recent, so I don't know if you can find that court case. There was a federal judge that ordered them to stop selling the border materials that we have spent millions and millions of dollars of tax money on, that, you know, basically the Biden administration was just selling off for pennies on the dollar. They're just doing a fire sale on everything. I have not met Holman, if that question is directed at me. I would like to meet him. I like him. Seems like a, you know, down to earth, blue collar kind of guy.
And in case it was directed to me, I haven't met him either. Just saying.
Oh, I love how the New York Post phrased it. The Biden administration has agreed to a court order preventing it from selling off rusting pieces of border wall material. Those old rusty materials. A federal judge in Texas has ruled that the Biden administration must stop selling border wall materials that the outgoing president has refused to install. The Biden administration has agreed to stop selling further border wall materials over the next 30 days. The judge has also ordered an investigation into the illegal selling of the materials, which will expose that's Trump's statement, which will expose how corrupt and anti-American radical Democrats are.
Yeah, you know, if you understand the limitations of the H-1B visa program and what it is, I do think that it could be a good program. It definitely is prioritizing or ensuring that we are getting immigration that is going to benefit the United States, as opposed to, you know, just taking on more people that are going to be a drain on the United States. And that is not a racist thing. That's just an economic fact.
It says sold to a private auction company, govplanet.com, for pennies on the dollar, according to Texas officials. Now I got to look up govplanet.com. What do they got for sale?
Maybe we can buy them back and get back to
the
business.
Border wall material.
This is something, and again, we're kind of giving a lot of this away, and I'm going to try to roll it back a little bit. But I was surprised at the salary rates that were involved with the H-1B. They were higher than I expected. So it's not, while they may be using some of these, and I think that's the case, I do think that there's a case where some of these companies are using H-1B visa folks to replace American workers that are getting paid more. I think that is a fact. But we're not talking about, with the data that I've looked at, we're not talking about, you know, people that are making $50,000, $60,000 a year on the American side, or whoever's having that job or being replaced by the job. We're talking about most of these jobs are six-figure salaries. So, you know, there's that, and you can kind of get from that whatever you want. Yeah. There's a lot of complexity. I think the biggest problem here is, like, I just can't, I cannot figure out why, when this is supposed to be limited to either 65,000 or an additional, very special case, 20 additional thousand, so 85,000, why there's like 300,000 plus being approved in a year.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. So that clearly tells me some abuse. And somebody brought it up earlier about the percentage of Indians that those visas are going to. That also, to me, indicates some sort of corruption or something being abused in that program, because you're telling me that we don't have talent in North Korea and Japan and all these other highly populated countries. I don't care, Azerbaijan, or I don't care where you're coming from. But the fact is when we see close to 80%, around 80% having those visas filled by Indians, that tells me there's something wrong.
And this isn't super serious, but I don't know if you saw, there was a sort of a video by Sam Hyde. He's talked about all this, and he's more of a comedian or whatever, but he made some pretty good points, sort of buried within the jokes or whatever. But one of his sort of points / jokes was about being number one and making sure that America is more competitive than China. And to win the economic war against China, if America needs to import so many highly skilled Indians, surely to beat China, we should do a blockade against China to prevent China from getting all these Indians going to China and making China best of the best. I know it doesn't really work because they're sort of at war, but it's, you know, that's kind of a funny point. It's like, okay, if that's so necessary to making your country great, surely we need to stop China from getting in on this action. When in reality, there's probably, we probably don't need that. that many.
No. We need to raise the standards here in America. That's what we need to do. We need to start teaching some work ethic here in America. We need to get away from, look, I know this is going to be, we have almost 500 people on the stream right now. I know this is going to be controversial, but I come from the Detroit area. All right. I think unions have had a real part in destroying this country and destroying our workforce. And look, I know there's some good work that unions do, and I do think there was a time when unions were important, but I think they got well over their skis and they turned into another corrupt organization that is not looking out for the best of the members, but are more about preserving and enriching the union itself as an organization. We saw that when you had something like 80% of all union members supported Trump, but the unions themselves supported, Biden. Look, if we want to continue to pay more for less, that is what the unions have forced us to do.
Which is why you see manufacturing going to the right to work states in the
100%,
South.
100%.
But then the unions want to form down there, and then it all starts over again. So.
Yeah. So what we got to do is we got to get off this corporate welfare thing. We got to lower corporate taxes because nobody pays corporate tax except their consumer. We got to quit. There's a whole nother thing when it comes to healthcare and the union healthcare plans that you're paying. The whole thing is corrupt, and we have so much work to do in so many different areas, and all these things accumulate and are affecting America's ability to, to be an economic force like it used to be. I mean, we can't compete. And we're doing it to ourselves, and it's crazy when you sit back and watch what's really going on. We're a sicker nation. We pay more for healthcare than we ever have. We are sicker. We're less healthy. We work less. We expect more.
I work more.
Yeah, I know you do, baby. You work more than anybody. We got so many problems. It's hard to even get your arms wrapped around it all, or even your mind for that matter. But definitely we got some issues, no doubt about it. I think it's the Australians' fault. I think that's really what we should do is we gotta start a war with Australia. They're the real sleeper. They're the sleeper enemy down there.
Just go there and steal all the talent and bring them back. Spoils of war.
Because we have a lot of work visas as well. We have a lot of foreigners coming in, and it sort of seems like a bit too much over here as well. But it just seems like every Western country, really, they always follow the same thing. We can't rely on our own workforce fully, which is probably true to some extent at least. And then we have to fill up the gaps with foreigners, and that's the best economic model. And that's sort of what's up for debate, I suppose. Because some people might say, look, you can go to Walmart and get things cheaper. And I mean, I'm probably conflating a bunch of the arguments, but it's like, on the one hand, people like cheap goods. That might come with more immigration, maybe. I think I'm sort of mixing up foreign trade and tariffs and a few things, but the vibe is the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it all feeds into one another. The vibe is the same. The fact is we have most Western countries that, for whatever reason, we're completely effing ourselves, and we think it. I don't even know why it even makes sense to anybody anymore. Like, we give so much, if we import or export vehicles into China and these other countries, we pay tariffs through the ass. That's why they don't buy our cars, people. But and then there's this joke played on us where it's like, oh, well, if we charge tariffs, then now we're not going to make any money, and prices are going to go up. Well, guess what? All they got to do is drop their tariffs over there. We have actual free trade that isn't being taxed and tariffed to death, to where we can be, again, we can actually, be competitive in the world stage on economics. And like America has taken it for so long, it's not even funny. It's the same thing like what we're doing with Ukraine. We're sending billions and billions of dollars. We just allocated like another $3.6 billion to Ukraine the other day.
And allocated all before the election. I mean, before the inauguration.
I mean, folks, like we still got people in Maui without homes for multiple years now. Like, when are we going to start taking care of Americans? We still got, hundreds of thousands of folks that are displaced because of Helene.
Yeah.
Like we don't take care of America anymore. We send our money overseas, and then we act like we're some charitable great nation while we're completely abandoning our own people. It's like if I took all of our money while my kids are starving to death, and I give all my money to the neighbors, and then I act like I'm some hero. Like, it's insane what we're doing. It absolutely is. And it doesn't even make sense to me anymore.
And on top of all that, America's just elected Trump, who campaigned on sort of winding all that back. Yet on the last moments of the previous guy, Biden, they just sneak in, a few more billion, even though the next guy said he's going to sort of wind that back. Let's try and keep it going as much as we can in our final
push
seconds.
as much through while they hey, Gary, let Summer. I'll just break in whenever I feel like it.
Let me tell you guys something, okay?
Here we go.
When Summer wants to talk, she talks. Okay. We kind of have an agreement. Like, Summer doesn't like to get on here. She doesn't like to get on these things. And I've had to twist her arm because I know you guys, I like her input and I love when she gives, her point of view on things like that. Trust me, she has no problem jumping in and doing that. So
I'll tell him to shut up when
100%.
when I'm ready. No, Gary says I don't like being on. It's not that I don't like being on here. Most of the time it's the getting on here, because I come home at the end of the day, I'm tired, I just want to go chill, I want to sit down and stuff my face full of food and lay in the bed.
Like most women.
I know, right? Eat my bonbons. But once I'm on here, I'm fine.
Yeah, but
for the most part.
I will say, and I hope Summer doesn't mind me even sharing. There's been times when I'm like, babe, just come on. She's like, as long as I don't even have to talk, or like that's
I'll
a
just
thing,
sit
folks.
there.
I've tried to get her on other videos. I love when she comes on, our YouTube videos and things like that.
When it comes to that, producing, filming a video and stuff, I'm usually in the middle of doing a lot of other tasks that have to be done.
But the point is, so people don't think that I'm just
you're hiding me away,
or just over talking you the whole time. Again, she can.
You're
jump in here
loud, but I will tell you to shut up.
Yeah, I don't want. You're not. Typically, you're not going to see me say, "Well, Summer, what do you think about that?" I let her jump in when she wants to, so she feels comfortable being on the show. So, I know people don't understand that dynamic, and I get why you guys might think I'm filibustering her.
Jeff said
but
Summer
I'm not.
can just stay silent like a wife is supposed to.
I know. That's what I'm talking about. Jeff doesn't get it when it comes to MLA versus Mel, because MLA sucks. But everything else in life,
right on,
he and I agree on.
And he appreciates my drinkware every time I have new cups. He notices. That's amazing, Jeff. Melanie has got a winner over there.
Harold, this is absolutely true. Summer's the real boss.
Harold just said that because he's just saying that because I created a custom order for him the other day. So no, I'm kidding, Harold. I'm kidding.
Military homelessness is a disgrace, and nothing seems to be. I agree with that partially.
There's some people that want to be homeless.
Well, that's so, and this goes with the homeless in America, whether they're military or not. And the fact is that we have a really
homeless,
shitty,
but they want to run the streets and live the street life.
Yeah, and there's definitely a percentage of people that are from the military that fall into that category.
Sure,
and that is the case. I do think, without a doubt, we have a terrible VA system. And if anybody thinks that government healthcare is a great idea, go see the VA. For the most part, it sucks, right? There's some that are better than others, but I mean, historically, it has been really bad. And under Trump, it was actually the best it had ever been. And they rolled back a lot of those policies. And now it's really crappy again. So anyways.
I don't know if you mind me sharing an example of VA healthcare at its best.
Knock yourself out.
It's a personal thing about you.
Sure.
So Gary had torn.
Was that the enlargement procedure?
No. Gary had torn a bicep while he was at first group. I forget what he was doing. It doesn't really matter. But I mean, in 29 time frame, right? This is last year. He's been complaining about this off and on, not really just since he's been at the VA. He never complained about it while he was active duty or any of that stuff. But
I wasn't going to sit out I knew my bicep was torn.
Right.
And I was not going to sit out deployments for recovery from surgery. It wasn't going to happen.
So anyway, he's been bringing it up at the VA off and on for years now. He finally, a couple of years ago, got a new primary care physician that seems to think
She's
a little
good.
bit outside of the
she's
VA
good.
box,
She's pretty
right?
good.
And he brought it up to her.
Dr. Shamali, shout out to Dr. Shamali.
So
She's pretty good.
They did what was it, like a MRI, X-ray,
Well-
some type of scan that showed, yes, it definitely is torn. The bicep muscle is torn.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, yes, the bicep muscle is torn. We have confirmed that you're correct. All these years, your bicep muscle, and you had to fight to get that.
Hold on. Just to put this in context.
I'm giving context. I'm kidding.
Like, they were not going to do an MRI.
Yeah, you had to fight for that.
That was for multiple years that I gave up with the old doctor, and I brought it because what happens is every now and then I would re-injure it. I literally would go like 6 weeks without really being able to use my arm because I would re-injure it, re-tear it, and then it would kind of heal back a little bit, and then I go for another year and I re-injure it, re-tear it, and so like the other doctor was just like, no, you're not getting an MRI, like
Too bad.
Too bad, basically. So the new doctor, I was like, look, I've been trying to get this MRI done. I'm telling you, my bicep is torn. You guys don't want to fix it? Fine. Don't fix it. I'm going to go out and I'm just going to get this fixed by a civilian doctor. And she's like, no. We'll get you an MRI today. Went and got the MRI, confirmed that it had been torn, and it was clearly torn. And then I don't know where you're going from there.
Well, so she's like, Gary's like, okay, so what's going to fix it? She's like, surgery will fix it. And he's like, okay, well, let's schedule that. She's like, no. With the VA, you have to go to like however many months.
I had to do like 6 to 12 months or weeks. I think it was weeks. It was like 12
of
weeks.
Physical therapy to be able to qualify to get the surgery he needed to repair his bicep.
Yeah.
Like forced physical
and we
therapy.
know, and I'm like, we know that's not going to fix it, right? She's like, no, it's just you have to do that before they'll give you surgery. So that's what you get.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, they would anytime I asked for it, they would have given me painkillers for it. As a matter of fact, the old doctor was constantly like, well, why don't we just give you some painkillers for it? And she would have given me oxycodone all day long. She would have numbed me up to my brain and back, and I'd have been fine, I guess, until I got addicted to whatever, and then ended up killing myself like they actually prefer. I honestly do. I think that's part of the tactics behind it all, the strategy.
KJ Carter says Gary needs to supply Summer with Lindor chocolate. Yeah, I don't need any more chocolate.
Summer gets.
I get plenty of supplies through the holidays.
Let me tell you, all you people over here in the comments acting like this woman is abused. Like y'all don't know shit. Shut up.
That is a nice thought, KJ. I appreciate it. I do like chocolate. Ooh, I am looking forward to the Ghirardelli.
I know what you're looking forward to.
No, stop. The Ghirardelli Sundays at SHOT Show. You remember those?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Melanie's on here. Finally.
Melanie, Jeff is a dick. You married him.
Yeah, she said, but he's mine.
Yes, he is. I don't think anyone else would want him, Melanie.
We've never even met Jeff in person.
I know. Nobody else would want me either. I mean, I get it.
Melanie likes my pink cups too. Jeff said so.
So I got an MRI scan a little while ago.
Yeah, Chris.
Sorry.
Nothing.
I was just saying I sprained my ankle a couple of years ago. I got an MRI scan. Just since we're showing off our MRI scans.
How did that work out for you?
They gave you a new ankle right away?
I think I just was supposed to rest it. I don't think. Yeah. And it hasn't fully recovered.
Oh, I get
Sometimes
it.
if I go
You
for
had a little boo-boo. You had a little boo-boo. Got your little MRI scan for your boo-boo. I thought they had to replace it with a kangaroo leg or something. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. It's kangaroo
Look, this
leg.
is an injury that's still causing issues years later. Okay, this is a serious boo-boo.
Yeah.
And I just basically just toughed it out and didn't really get any treatment or anything, That's all right. That's how I roll.
Oh my God, could you imagine Gary on Oxy?
No, Jeff. I would be hiding those pills every day.
I'm not into painkillers at all.
No. When I had both our sons by cesarean section, and they prescribed oxycodone both times. And I remember as a new mom with the first baby, I was like, I'm not taking anything. It's going to go with my breast milk. I'm, poison the baby, blah, 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 blah. I was in a lot of pain. I remember Gary looking at me, he's like, Summer, just please take something. So I think I finally took the ibuprofen 800s. And then with the second baby, I did take one of the oxycodones because I was in a lot of pain that first night home. And I remember sitting on the couch and I was like, I am high right now, and I can totally see why people would get addicted to this stuff, and I will never take another one. So yeah,
She was like in the best mood for a few hours I've ever seen.
I just remember sitting on the couch and I was like, I am high. That's what this feels like, or what I imagine being high feels like, I guess. Because
yeah, I never took any pain medicine. I did what real men did and self-medicate with alcohol. But I don't do that anymore. I don't even drink.
yeah,
But
proud of you.
definitely did that for many, many years.
Yeah, exactly, Jeff. He said you had to have a C-section to get that Bigfoot MF's kids out. The 14-year-old Jackson was 10 pounds, 1 ounce. Okay. And I was like 130 when I got pregnant, I think. And
That's like 4.5 kilograms, just so you know, Chris.
We still weigh babies in pounds, I think.
Do you really?
For whatever. Yeah, I think it's more common. Say our baby was so many pounds. Whatever.
Yeah,
American cultural imperialism reigning supreme, I suppose.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Gosh darn it. What else we got going on, Chris? What anybody else have any
Not
questions?
sure. I checked the updates for the that AP page. There's nothing new going on with the New Orleans crash. So I don't really have too much new to add.
Nothing new coming out.
No.
Yeah, here's a real question. Until today, where the freak has Biden been? Like, we haven't seen Biden. We definitely haven't seen Kamala since she left the freaking election, lost the election.
Oh yeah, I haven't thought about that.
I mean, we haven't even heard of these people. Like, where's Biden been?
Where has
Where's
she been?
Kamala been? Like, I mean, I'm actually not complaining. I was just like, who's running this country? By God, the same people that were running before it happened. I mean, Biden has been running forever. I did see a
That's
funny
right.
thing.
You can tell us if you miss Biden. It's okay. We won't hold it
I
against
was
you.
missing him. I was missing them like two people missed Trump. I was thinking today though that what was I gonna say? Dang it, I forgot. I forgot what I was gonna say. Well, I'll think of it in a minute. I was watching. I think it was either yesterday or today. The Babylon Bee said the Democrat Party is claiming that Jimmy Carter is sharper than he's ever been.
Jesus, oh, he's terrible. I heard somebody posted that Biden's going to do his eulogy. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think Jason TG Sponsler said that.
Oh, that's probably fake news.
If Jason said it, it's probably fake news.
Probably fake news.
Let me see what Google says.
Dear Secret Service, that was just an analogy, and I wasn't involved in Gary's subliminal threats. There's that. Well, look, folks, I think tomorrow Chris and I are going to get back on here, and hopefully I'll be able to get Summer to get back on as well. And we're going to definitely do a deep dive into the H-1B visa program. We'll give you all the information that you need to know, just the facts. And then, of course, at the end of that, we'll definitely provide, I know I will. I don't know what Chris's opinions are on it. I'm not even sure you should have one, given that he's not even American. But other than that,
that's what it's all about. You got to listen to the best of the international world,
this is coming from an objective person that has no skin in the game, So I think that gives him some credibility right there. But it is interesting. I think there's we'll answer a lot of questions that Americans should know about this program. And I think there's a lot of other programs out there that we need to do. We as Americans need to be much more educated on, because I think these programs are, millions and billions of dollars are being spent on all kinds of different programs that are not to the benefit of the American people. And I think we need to get a handle on that. We're at a point where we have such credit. We're in such debt, rather, that we can't afford to continue to be the Santa Claus of the world. We got to quit defending the world. We need to definitely take a much more isolationist approach to the world in general. We got to start looking out for the American people, and we got to start making sure that our politicians that we elect are doing a better job looking out for the American people, as opposed to patting their own pockets. Going to the EU, the UN, and trying to be rock stars by giving away our money, because that's what they're doing, and that's something that Trump has been opposed to, and we got to get a handle on this because we can't afford to do it anymore. What were you going to say, Summer?
Biden is confirmed to be delivering the eulogy at Carter's funeral service at the Washington National Cathedral.
Gotcha. I'm sure he'll be on display for a couple weeks or something like that.
Yeah, he's in Lime State.
Look, Jimmy Carter, I think, was a good man. Let's just face it, though. He was a terrible politician, terrible president, and let's just stop pretending otherwise just because he died. I do think he was more principled than most politicians out there, but at the same time, he sucked as a president. Right there, up there with Obama, and not quite as bad as Biden. I think Biden was a much worse president than Carter was. But I digress. Chris, you got anything else to add to anything that we've talked about? We doing the live stream tomorrow? Does that work for you?
I'm down for tomorrow. Still got a couple of things. I'll probably go over them now. Get all prepared for our little immigration, Trump, Elon uproar thing tomorrow. I'm keen.
Sounds
good. Yeah, I think for this one, I think we've covered. It's still early days. There's not too much information out there about this. But yeah, it's just very strange. You've got these two events on the same day.
On the first day of the new year.
First day of the new year.
Yeah.
Not,
the saying is whatever you're doing on the first day of the year is what you'll be doing all year. So hopefully that is not indicative of what's to come. That is a saying. Also, make sure you eat your black-eyed peas and your turnip greens. Black-eyed peas are for good luck. Turnip greens are for money. And don't wash any, hopefully it's not too late for most of you. Don't wash any clothes on New Year's Day because you'll wash someone out of your family.
What kind of hypers?
I'm just telling you. Oh, and
that's a bit.
Some people also.
I didn't know we were part of a cult.
It's just New Year's Day do's and don'ts. I'm trying to share so people can get good luck and get money.
I guess.
And keep everybody in their family.
I think Jesus got it covered, whether we eat black-eyed peas or not. I'm just saying.
He does. It's just one of those old Southern things. Anyway, black-eyed peas, turnip greens, and no doing laundry.
All right. Well, listen, everybody else, you guys be back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. We're going to have a great show for you. We're going to try to give you as much education. And look, this is what this show is about. You guys get out there, go get educated on it. Provide us some additional information over in the comments. We love hearing from you as well. And that's what this is all about, is making sure we include you guys into these conversations, because I think that's important. And Chris, myself, and even the folks that help us out with all this stuff that do a great job kind of compiling a bunch of information for these shows. We can't do it all, and there's things we're going to miss. So that's why we do these live, so that you guys can participate, contribute, and we love to hear from you. But other than that, folks, have a happy new year. We're looking forward to going to SHOT here in just a little bit. We'll definitely do a couple shows. Oh, and I got a great show. Well, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Our next Dangerous Liberty show is going to be great as well. You're definitely going to want to tune for that. But anyways, until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon.